there's one saying, the 5 people you're most of the time around with you, they define you. So surroundings reinforce the patterns. The people we deal with on a certain everyday's level, can be family, can be workmates, can be whatever, where you spend your time, the people you spend the time with. So most likely they have an influence of you. Either they elevate you or they basically keep you down.
Hi there, welcome to the replay of our after hours discussions with professional coaches. Your exclusive complimentary Sunday session for all of our community around the world, where coaching minds unite with our people to create real world results. I am Adrian Cahill, your host and founder of the Motivate community, and more recently, Monday Morning Motivation. As a global trainer in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, coaching, and hypnosis, this weekly gathering brings some of my colleagues from trainings, my fellow students and coaches all together in one place where we can discuss, share, help change the world by delivering free, quality information that's here to help you transform.
We're good to go. Okay, breaking the loop. So let's go ahead. Okay, so breaking the loop, what does it mean? So most people, I also include myself, struggle with change. Actually, we don't struggle with change. We struggle just with repeating ourselves, our thinking ways. So this means over the time we develop, and at a certain time, we start to plateau. There's no any more development, or we feel stuck, and these things happen over time. So, and typically we know exactly what to do, but actually we don't proceed. So how come? Why? It doesn't make sense. So, and for the coaches under us in the team, when we work with coaches, so the clients, when we work as coaches, the clients understand that everything, but they also got stuck. And the question is, why does this happen and what can we do in this case? So it's self-reflective, but also when we work as coaches with other people, why does it work and what can we do? So that's the main topic of this session. And as I said before, actually we are not stuck, we're just plateauing somewhere and we are patterned. This means we're running thought patterns over and over, which don't allow us to move beyond this plateau, to proceed and to go the direction where we want. So, and this is just some loops that block us to proceed forward. And when I mentioned the word change, so maybe you can type or say, if you hear the word change, what do you resonate with? Is it change positive? Is it negative? Is it neutral? What emotions, what feelings, what ideas come up when you hear the word change? So maybe you can a little bit reflect in the chat or open a microphone. This would be nice to hear it a little.
I can give you, because of my recent experiences, when I hear change, it's like it's a nothing, it's a word, but there's no actual way that I can say, oh, I want to change. It's a word that describes something, but it doesn't give any real indication of what I want. That's just my feeling. So I had to think about, what is it that I want? Change is something that happens once I've set a goal. So to use the word change, it just describes something that's usually happening in the past or happened in the past, not a way of using it. Oh, I want to change, but I wouldn't know anybody. Or what do you want to change to? What is your goal? So I had a bit of a problem with knowing. I know where I'm at. I want to do this. I want to get rid of that. I want to. So I wanted life to change, but I didn't have a mechanism or a way to get to where I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
that's my thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Jay. Just you talked about the goal. So you have a goal and you want to change. This is a deliberate decision. How about if the change is more or less forced upon you? It's not your deliberate decision. You have to change for some reason. Would this have a different influence, a different feeling, or? Can you
Yeah.
please unmute? Okay, unmute. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually,
Mhm.
that was probably what happened to me. I was forced into a process doing things which I didn't really want to do at the
Mhm.
time. I had to work through and decide for myself that what was being forced upon me was going to be a part of where I wanted to be and get to. Once I did
Mhm.
that, there wasn't any issue, but there was a big having something forced upon me was definitely a stress issue until I reframed it and decided,
Mhm.
well, that's what's got to happen. And the issue was selling my house. And I thought, well, where is it? What's my goal? And I created a reframe of thinking, well, I want to be free to make decisions entirely for myself and be free to go where I wanted and to be flexible. So that became part of it.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So the change that was forced upon me was living, not having my own house.
Mhm. Yeah, that's then a different approach if you are forced to
Mm.
change and not deliberately choose it. Okay. Yeah, Jay, thank you for sharing. Okay. So then we also say why awareness and not effort is the starting point for transformation. This is also one thing we talk about. Okay, so pattern recognition is one of the topics. You know what to do, but you don't do it. Your clients gain insights as a coach, but they don't change. We're starting strong, but then fall back. So is it really motivation? Is it intention? Or is it just the patterns we got stuck in, which limit us, is our behavior? And this is one thing we can, let's say, reframe, like Jay mentioned. What are patterns? Patterns are repeated thoughts, emotions, behaviors we're doing over time, and they are subconscious. We all know this stereotype iceberg theory, where only 10% are above the water and 90% are below the water surface. And this is the same how our brain works. 10% are conscious actions, but 90% are unconscious or subconscious. So this is the automatic um, behavior, the automatic actions we take, the automatic thoughts we do, the default, we always fall back. So, and this is really feels how we are. It feels me, it feels you. So this is we falling back to default. And if you talk about the goal, like Jay mentioned, you don't become what you want. You become what you repeat. And we all know that repetition, when we're learning in school, when we learn in university, when we learn in coaching, training, whatever, repetition is the first level of learning, of remembering something. So, and when we look back, when we were younger and grew up, we have a lot of choices and we take a lot of actions and we then find out what works and what doesn't work. So this limits then our choices we have, and because we normally take the actions which work out, which bring us forward, which bring us towards our goal. So we're losing basically a lot of options, or let's say looking for options, because we know what's work and we focus on this one. So we're narrowing down over time. So, and by reframing, we can give a different meaning, and we also can looking for more or different opportunities, options to proceed. So why it feels hard? The conscious mind wants change, but actually the brain doesn't. The normal brain is basically energy, want to conserve energy. So this is why sometimes we like to be entertained. We don't like to think. We let others influence us. So, and to think about, to be active with something takes a little bit more energy. So Subconscious wants safety. It wants to fall back to default. We don't want to leave our comfort zone because uncertainty feels we don't know what happens. We prefer to stay inside the comfort zone, familiar. So we want to do familiar things. So this means whenever we do something, we have a willpower, we want to do something, but then it gets feel uncomfortable. We're feeling we don't proceed, then we fall back to our default system, and we call it the system pulls us back, whatever is the system, but it's our default mode way of thinking. Okay. So then there are three loops, which let's say every pattern maintains three main loops. There might be others, but let's focus on this one. The identity, which seems to be the strongest one. And then the emotions, and there's the environment around. Yeah. So let's focus on this one. And if we go with the identity, yeah. So I am, and whatever follows behind this one is identity. I am this kind of a person. I'm inconsistent with my action. I'm not disciplined. I'm struggling with. I'm too big. I'm too fat. I'm too short. I'm too unskilled, whatever. So there's always something which keeps us looking also on the negative side. So, and it also drives us. This is the inner motivator, the intention, more than intention. So identity is really the top. And this is the loop where we get caught most of the time. Then emotional loop. Every pattern has an emotional payoff. This means we're doing something to gain emotions. We want to get for pleasure. We want to avoid pain, something like this. This is also one of the main drivers of our brain. We go for reward, and we want to avoid pain. So, but also we have a lot of bad habits which we are used to and which already got automized and are subconscious, and it's sometimes difficult to escape these bad habits. And sometimes we're avoiding something, and we feel a relief because we don't have to face it. We're avoiding it. We don't want to look there. We don't visit the doctor, for example, because they might give us a negative feedback. We don't do certain things. And another thing is we're overthinking before we take action. We're thinking about what other people will think. We think about it happened in the past, not really. So we anticipate the future. We get anxious about the future, and we don't take action. We're overthinking things because we want to control. For us, it's difficult to do something where we don't have really control, or we have to make a decision where we don't have not enough information. So we're overthinking. And of course, then it's always procrastination. We know that we should take action, but we don't for whatever reasons. So we keep in the comfort zone. Just ask you, do you have any examples of, let's say, emotional loops where you avoid something, where you overthink something, where you procrastinate? I think this is really three main issues which keep us from not going forward. Any examples from you, from your life that you experienced? You should have taken action, but you didn't because you avoid something, because you're overthinking, because procrastination.
I'm going to give the others opportunity first, Harry, but what I've found is knowing what actions to take and perhaps even for me believing I could do it. So it was very hard to move into a path of uncertainty, which living my life as I'm living it now, that it was going to be possible to survive or find somewhere to live, selling my house. Or so there was a great deal of uncertainty because housing is very difficult to get here at this current time. And then believing whether or not, I'll be able to afford to do that. Even when I've got the money, I've got to buy another house and that. So for me, it was believing in myself. That was the biggest limitation.
Okay. So we had a belief system, which is also very important. It's just basically in the neurological levels, it's just there's the identity, and below is the values and the beliefs. So it's also very important to believe in what you're doing. Okay, thank you for sharing. And then the third loop, oops. the third loop would be the environment. So there's one saying, the 5 people you're most of the time around with you, they define you. So surroundings reinforce the patterns. The people we deal with on a certain everyday level, can be family, can be workmates, can be whatever, where you spend your time, the people you spend the time with. So most likely they have an influence of you. Either they elevate you or they basically keep you down. So then it's also the routines we run. As I mentioned before, we usually have the same patterns which bring us forward. So we're lacking sometimes of opportunities or thinking about opportunities because we try this where we're successful. And this over time may also become our constraints because things are changing, things are developing, environment develop, everything. And if we think always the same way, like we doing things before, this might not anymore lead us to the goals or make it more difficult. So it might become constraints. And we always get a feedback from the environment. This means also always coaching us. So there's a feedback. Are we successful in doing this what we want? Are we going towards our goal? Do we get the feedback? Do we have to change our approach? So environment is also one of the 3 loops. We have identity, emotions, and environment. These are the loops we can look in. Okay, and how can we interrupt this pattern? If we're doing something, if we're thinking, then we need to be aware and just think, what just triggered this action, what I'm just doing, what just triggered this one. So it's basically, you call it metacognition. We think about what we're thinking. So this is one thing we really have to be conscious of, to remind us that we have to think about it. Whenever we fall to a thinking pattern or want to fall into an action or a belief, okay, what just triggers this? What I want to gain, does it really work? So, and when then I look towards identity, so who would I need to become to act differently right now? So this is always a question we have to ask. And this is really have to be conscious. And we should automate this, that we think about what we're thinking and how we are thinking. So then we can really interrupt the pattern. So it's also self-reflection, self-awareness. And this is already the first step. And we can progress on this level if we think about what we're thinking, but in some cases we cannot outthink ourselves. So this means we also would need another person, in this case a coach, to give us a feedback and to help us to interrupt the patterns, because we cannot outthink ourselves. So this might be a limiter, but anyway, self-reflection, self-awareness is one of the things which are very important, and also to think about what we're doing and how we're doing the things, and if they still would bring us to reach our goal, or what can we do differently. So this is one very important step. And what we can do is we can start then change small steps, make micro changes. Don't try to change everything. We just try to evaluate, okay, we have done the last years, we have taken this step. Today, we try to make another step and look how we feel. Stepping out of a comfort zone, but not totally, just a little bit. We're doing things different and get the feedback, how it works out. So this over time, we can change a little bit with micro changes. So, and we all know the input defines the output. So if we start differently, most likely the outcome will also be differently. And of course, we want to perceive a better outcome. So the intention should be, okay, we do a change and we expect an improved outcome. Whatever is the goal, whatever is the outcome then defined. So, and as mentioned, also the brain is usually want to go away from pain, want to go towards reward. So we don't avoid things, but we give us rewards. We're feeling the reward when we do things. And the thing is also make a change and already get a reward by doing the change. You already did something what you normally not do. So you broke already the pattern by doing things a little bit differently. So this is the first step, to reward this action, to feel better about this particular step. And then when we think for coaches, so I don't know, Lucille, are you coaching? Are you a coach also? Maybe you can answer in the chat. Are you coaching? I know Frank is very active and join almost every session. Okay.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So are you also coaching?
No, I'm
Okay.
student always.
Okay. So you're coaching yourself then?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So coach, please,
So
Jay.
Lucille hasn't said anything. I'm watching the chat group, so
Yeah. Okay. I'm
no
watching the
response.
chat group too. Yeah. Thank you for this feedback. And yeah. So when we work with coaches, they have the same issues. They are not, how to say, they're not struggling, or they struggle, or they're plateauing because of their thinking. And they also run the same patterns. This is why we have to help them see the patterns. And this is a really big step forward if they realize, get the awareness where they are plateauing, where they have the patterns. That doesn't, the limitation in thinking. So, and sometimes we're giving advices. As a coach, we should not do that, but sometimes people give us advices and we push for change. And this is one thing we should not do. And the way is to help them to reveal, to understand their patterns, to point out their patterns, but by experiencing it themselves, by not telling them, look, this is this pattern. They might understand it intellectually, but they don't feel it. So the thing is to guide them that they really have the insight themselves where the pattern comes from or what limits them. And then, of course, the first step is awareness. Then we interrupt the pattern by thinking, okay, what can we do differently? How it comes, how it feels, what would be my change in identity, how I can do this. Then we learn over time, we'll learn to repeat this way of thinking. So we shift our way of thinking to a new default level, which gives us a better outlook to proceed towards our goals or the change we want. So we're creating over time a new identity. And as Jay, you mentioned, beliefs are a part of creating a new identity. The values we have, we should also be aware what values we have. We should also look, maybe check, are these also steps which are aligned with our moral ideas, which ethical ideas. So we should then also look forward to this one. Okay, welcome, Jackie. Now the group getting bigger. Yeah. All right. So any questions so far? So we have the three loops, basically identity loop, which is really the biggest driver. We have the emotional loop because we experience our life through emotions. So, and the other loop was basically the environment we live. There we can also distinguish in the social environment and also in the physical environment, but I will introduce a tool a little bit later on. Any questions so far? Estrelita also joined. Hello. Okay.
Oh, we lost Jackie straight away. Yeah, hi.
We lost Jackie. Okay.
Yeah. So something just that sort of came up. Because I did a talk on this a couple of weeks ago, where it was on awareness, and that for coaches, awareness, and that is something that's been ongoing. So how would you see that for a coach? We make a person more aware of what their behaviors are. That's an intriguing question for me.
Can you please repeat this again?
So how, as a coach, working with a client, do we help them change their awareness and the process of saying, well, we don't tell them, well, you're acting like this type of person or that or whatever. So interesting. So for the client's awareness to become what, more detailed or or to discover something, there would have to be a process. And I'm thinking, well, how do we, as a coach, change a client's awareness on the subject? Even, you know, like, do we go and do some research on this? Do we provide some reading material and hope that they can see the story? So that's something that came a question because of me looking at from, you know, childhood to adulthood, to be aware where we're at in our life and what we're doing. I'm working on developing a process at the moment. I did suggest one where we look at the events of our life of each 5-year period or 10-year period, and then look at a story to see where we've come from to where we are now. So for me, I can see that might be a tool of awareness, but it might not be detailed enough to suit the process of change that's needed. So the question is, awareness is a word, but how do we promote it?
Okay. Yeah. So there's a few answers to this, I think. As a coach, when we ask questions to the coachee, and the thing is, if the coachee doesn't get the insight, I think we should improve the way we ask the questions. So talking around, trying from different sides, different angles. But I think the insight should come from the coachee themselves. If we give an advice, yes, okay. But I think if there's an insight, it's much better for development, for awareness, than we tell it from the outside, because we don't want to get advices. Normally, everybody give you good advice. We should do this, we should do that, we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do that. But if I find it myself, and for example, if I'm getting coached and I have an insight, I'm rather to change, accept it, and have an aha feeling than I get it told from the outside. That is one thing. So I will later introduce also one way, an app you can use. You can use a software where you basically track certain feelings you have, certain actions you take. And over time, this will give you an awareness, how much you accept yourself, and what is the environment. So it gives us a little bit over a ratio. It gives us some feedback. I will introduce it a little bit later. And of course, the other thing is how you gain awareness. So self-reflective. Ask the person to self-reflect. Ask the person to different questions, to have different insights, and also give them metaphors, something like this, where people tell them a story about it so that they can feel like they are part in the story, something like this. This is what comes to my mind. I think there's for sure more options we can do, but this is what comes to my mind right now. Okay, good. So for coaches, and when we think about coaching, one of the tools a lot of coaches use is the Myers-Briggs type indicator. And I think most of us are familiar with it. Most of us have done the test. And anybody doesn't know MBTI? I think we all know it. Anybody doesn't? So, and there's always a continuum between two extremes. One is the extroversion and one is the introversion. So this is basically not a black and white. This is not the labeling. We are somewhere in this spectrum between being 100% extroverted and 100% introverted. We are somewhere in between. And the question is just, are we more on this side or more on that side? So, and if you ask about extroversion, is where do you focus your attention go and where do you get your energy? So for example, some people need to stay on the stage, need to be always talk to other people. They gain the energy by being with people, with the extroverts. And on the other side, people, they go on stage and then they gain the energy by being alone, doing something alone. So this is the big, let's say, the difference between them. And then is how do we take information? We sense information or we have intuition. So this is also, there's a continuum, either sensing or intuition, but we are somewhere in between. We're just tending more to be a sensing or more to be a intuition type. So it's again, not black and white. So also how we make decisions. So are we more the thinking person and overthinking maybe, or more the feeling person? We do more this guts feeling decision. And last but not least is the judging. How do you deal with the outside world or perceiving? Judging or perceiving. So there's the two extremes. And then if you do this, you get, for example, you get the 4-letter result when you do the test. And then you can see this is 16 possibilities you can do. So internal, introverted, extroverted, then with the sensing, and then with the intuition type. And there are colored dots about the first two characters. And what does it mean? It means how easy to do the accept change. When you see, for example, the introverted sensing person, they're a little bit resistant to change. Of course, they change, but if we are the person, if we are IS type, or if we are our coachee is an IS type, it needs a little bit more effort, a different way to change them, to help them. Then, for example, the green one, which is an extrovert intuition type, they are the easiest to change. And then the others are in between. You see the orange and the yellow. So it goes from red to green. How much easier are they adapted to change? So anybody knows what is his or her MTBI? Do we know the type? Yeah, Jay?
Yes, I'm ISTP, and I'm actually an accredited user with Australian
ISTP,
Psychological Press. So, yes, I spent a lot of time studying MBTI after getting my university qualification. So, and I've repeated it a few times over, not so much recently, but fairly. I'm consistently within that zone, although results move a little. Yeah. So, but I'm what's called only mildly differentiated on the introvert extrovert scale. I'm very close to the middle. So so I very easily transition to extroverted, and but it's actually in the outer world, sensing becomes my actual preferred activity. So doing activities, stimulation is what I like to do in the outer world. So it's quite an interesting way of providing. I like it. It gives the language to understand self to me, and why I like doing these things. And I get greater joy because I like in the outer world playing sports, sensing activities, riding a motorbike. So so that sort of is what I would see as the major understanding of myself.
Okay, thank you for sharing. So, and you said you did it a few times in the past, and did this change? Did it change?
Only in the score, not
Only
in
the
the
score.
zone. I'm always have been and still am ISTP. So there's an interesting book which actually helped me understand that. I think it was called People Types and Tiger Stripes. And as it says, a tiger doesn't change its stripes, even though it can change its behavior, the more one becomes aware of self. So I have learned to change behaviors in situations, but I'm still the same actual, personality type. That's the word I was thinking of. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, thank you for sharing, and welcome back, Jackie. And there's 3 liters left, so this group not really getting bigger today. Anyway, so my type to share is INTP. So basically quite close with you. Just I'm more a little bit in the intuition side. Also close to the middle, but a little more on the intuition side. So this makes me, according to this diagram, a little bit more adaptive to accept change. And that's quite interesting. And if you really then look, how can we change? We have these 4 quadrants basically. The introvert sensing people, they're called the thoughtful realist. So when we talk as a coach, sometimes we deal with leaders. We have, let's say, an internal focus if we are this type, and also if we work in an organization and we have to change because we are part of an organization. So how does it look like? Yeah. So if we're a leader, we need so careful attention to what needs to be done. So we are very careful on doing it, else we want to keep it, we want to preserve it. Then individual focus, we have practical considerations. Should we do it? Should we not do it? We are a little bit more on the thinking side. And the focus is on continuity. So we want to be keep doing what we're doing. When we then go to the IN, which is called the thoughtful innovator, we're leading through ideas. We are the creative people. We're having ideas. We're having a lot of intangible thoughts and ideas internally. In the organization, we like to vision. We have a vision for the organization. These are the people, when they're leaders also. And let's think about doing things differently, which also intends to do them better, not just differently, but also with the aim, with the goal to do them better. Then we would come to the extroverted types, and we have the IES is action-oriented realist. They lead through actions, through doing. So we're getting here more towards change. We want to take a practical action, not just for something. We want a result. We're taking action, and let's do it. Just do it. Okay, we're already very good going to here. These are the easier people to change, and the most easiest, of course, is the extroverted intuition, MTBI character, and they're really action-oriented innovators, not only realists, but innovators. So they lead through enthusiasm. This is the powerful leaders which go ahead and focus on the systems, on the relationships, what we can do. And for them, it's change, it's change, it's change. Let's change it. Yeah. For example, if your boss is an EN and you are an IS, you might not feel happy because they want to change all the time and you want to feel preserving the things. Yeah. Or vice versa. If you're the type you want to change and they keep stagnant, you're also not happy. So this also can see this comes back to the environment. What is my working environment? Do I feel good there? How are my colleagues? How are my people? How is the social environment? How can I deal with this action? So, and this is one tool, one way. If we have to change, if we want to improve, if we want, for example, change management, if we're dealing with this one as a coach, how do we see that one? You can find out the people with MTBI. We can at least sense how organization change would work. It was just an overview. Any questions to that one? Have you ever used such a thing in coaching others, MTBI, or just done for yourself? Maybe Jay, seems you're the only one who wants.
Yeah, I actually, when I first started out doing coaching, I used this always as the first tool to get to know my client. And I think the realization, just looking at this now, is it's actually, by using it, we're promoting awareness of the client of themselves. So it's a great tool for what you were saying about awareness. It's why I do what I do and why I behave like I do. And once have the awareness, then one can decide to change, knowing that, oh, this is what I normally do. Okay, what can I do differently now if I want to change? So I think it's a great tool. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Then we're moving on to some other tool I want to introduce to you. And this tool is called goodtimes.app. You can later type it in the browser and sign up for free. So what does it mean? So there's this research-based study that what people really want. So, and by testing a lot of people in different cultures worldwide, so people actually want to have a good time. So we want to enjoy the time, what we're doing. So we want to enjoy what we're doing. If it's either it's work or is it's hobby, is it spare time, is it entertainment? We want to join and have fun, good time with the people we're dealing with. Can be family, can be partners, can be at work. And actually we want the result. You can say this is whatever we're doing, we want to enjoy a good time. Also, if you want, look, we make money. Why do we want to have money? Basically, we can afford something. We can go on holiday, we can buy a bigger house, a bigger car. We want to enjoy, have good feelings, have a good time. So this is one thing. We can look at it. And the main issue is that we want to maximize the good time on the long term. And it could be like a stock chart, for example. A stock chart, if we're investing long term, it will always go up. Will go up. There might be small spikes up and down. Let's say this is a daily, weekly fluctuations, but over time it should go up. And this is one tool where we really can gain awareness of what we're doing if we have time over time. So, and how does it work basically? As I said, it's free. You can join in, and basically this app focuses on 5 different areas. And the most important pillar is the self. What is me? How I do behave? How I feel? What actions I take? Yeah. Then, as mentioned before, the social environment is the people I'm dealing with on everyday basis. So also the activities I'm doing, what I get out of the activities, and also the physical environment I'm sitting in. So, and when we go through it in a detail, you have then to answer some questions and give some, let's say, points to different actions. You can also create some if you are predefined. And the self, how did you feel about yourself over the day? So this is something you work on a day, you do something, and in the evening you review your day, you take this app, you open it, and then you say, okay, self-acceptance. How did I feel about myself? How did I accept myself from what I did? And you have 7 levels you can give, from I hate it to I love it, what I did, how I felt about myself, how I accept myself. And you can also give priorities. So very low to very high. Is it very important, for example, the self-acceptance, what I did? Is it very low level, something like this? You have different tasks. The inner peace, how peaceful we feel when doing the things. For example, when we think about the future, and we might be anxious about the future because we know we want to go towards a goal, and we know in the past we had some problems with the goal. We think about the future, we are anxious. And if we're anxious, we might not be at inner peace. So the question is, what is our level on inner peace, and how important is it for us? Energy. Doing with something with energy. How energized do we feel in doing the things? How energized do we feel over the day? Again, you can give it 7 levels and priorities. What was the bodily comfort? How did we feel in our body? And this is some things they're predefined. And then we can choose different other things. How do we feel about ourselves over the day in what we're doing? So I can give them a few points, a few scores. And when we do that persistently, consistently, over a few days, weeks, and months, we can see if our good time, there's a ratio, this calculate, there's a mathematical model behind, This ratio, and you see it like a stock chart, it can improve over time. Does it improve? Or if not, what are the reasons? What can I do to improve basically my self-awareness and how I feel? What the things I'm doing? Okay, so this gives us an easy number, a factor. So it's like a stock chart over time. Yeah. And we'll go up and down at the daily level. We feel good, we feel not so good, we feel very good, we feel okay. So, but over the time, there's a ratio which should go up. We can see that basically in this first level, you have this ratio here, which is then calculated. For example, you see here 42, 61, 43, 67, but over time it increases like a stock chart. And by putting in these numbers, how I feel, what's important, there's a number calculated. So you can easily say, how is the improvement over time? How do I feel good about it, what I'm doing? But the self is not the only one. As I said, there's a social environment. So, and this is also how much time did we spend on alone, because we are alone sometimes. We are with others, we are family, we are with workmates, we are with friends that day. So this is one thing we track, the time we spend, and also who got our attention during this time. Did we spend more with family? Did we spend more time in work? Did we spend more with groups, with customers, even with animals? Or so we can really structure it. How does our daily routine look like, and how do we perceive it? How do we feel about them? Yeah. So, and this is again, we have the 7 levels, and we can choose people, animals, groups, whatever. So it's free, and over time, you can also see how good you feel in dealing with the people. So basically, the thing is, you want to go for things which give you a good time, and want to omit or avoid things which don't give you a good time, or want to reduce the time by spending in areas which don't give you a good time. So this is the awareness when you calculate it over the day, and when you follow up, you can see over the time what gives you good time, what doesn't. So and then it's also the awareness what we can do. And for example, if certain people don't give you good time, just maybe you have to change the people, avoid seeing them, the number or the time, increase the intervals, maybe change the people, something like this, which give you not a good time. And you can see this because it's being tracked, and you track it on a daily basis. Yeah, activities. What are we doing every day? How much time are we spending over the day? For example, we have work, we go to the office, we have hobbies. We also scrolling the mobile phone, most likely in the moment. This is also one thing we're doing quite often. We're doing physical exercise. How do we spend our time doing activities? And also, how do we feel about these activities we do over the day? And of course, there's certain activities we must do. For example, eating. We have to every day. We have to sleep. Yeah. And then other activities, of course, they're free to be defined. And also you give them the 7 levels, and also you count the time, how much you spend on it. And then also what you receive from doing the actions. So what you get back from a relationship, what you get back from doing things on the finance, health, wealth, relationship. These are the things, what support you get, what you acknowledged. So whatever you receive, you can freely structure and give it also feelings, levels, how you like it, you hate it, or in between something, and how is the priority. So, and last but not least is the physical environment. Where do you spend your time every day? So you spend it in the office, spend it at home, you spend it at the gym, you spend it with friends. So you spend it in nature, you spend it in a basement, office, whatever. So the thing is, how did you feel about spending the time on those places per day? And having these 5 areas, you're writing this down every day, you're getting then basically over time, this is called the good time ratio, which is a number, and this should increase. So as it's a ratio, it could be between 0 and 100. This means 100 could be reached in theory. This means all what you do gives you a good time. So which might not happen because sometimes we do things we don't really like. We have to sometimes, yeah. So, but one thing is also when we look at this good time, there are certain things which we can do which help us have a good time over the long term, over the life expectancy. But also we do some things which help us to do things on short time, which give us a good time. If you look at bad habits, drinking, smoking might give us, even taking drugs, might give somebody a good time for a short period. But I think it's not really helping to give you over time a good time. So when we're taking alcohol every day, we maybe might enjoy when we're drunk, but over time we might have health conditions. Same as with smoking, same as with taking drugs. They give us a good time now, but over time they might not give us a good time. We're getting some conditions, mental conditions, physical conditions. So, and the thing is, when we're doing things which help us give us a good time on the long period, we should also look what can support this one, doing it now. For example, eating healthy will support us to give us health on the long term, but it might also be a little bit boring to just eat salad. So the thing is, what can we do to spice it up, to enjoy also what we do every day on short time, the people we spend, the actions we take, the work we have, to make this more enjoyable on the long term, to help us now and also support us on the long term. It's not just we're working hard now to make money that when we retire, we can then enjoy the life. It's a different philosophy. We also see what can we do already now on short time that helps us every day to increase this stock chart called good time ratio over time. And that is also basically satisfaction. We learn a lot of awareness, what we're doing, how we're doing it, which people give us energy, which people take energy, which actions give us energy, which actions take energy from us. So this is a very good tool to really track and see what we're doing, how we're doing. So we can use this one for ourselves. We can also use this one when we're coaching people. So this is just use this tool and then we can talk about it. Yeah, this is also one thing. We take awareness. We can be self-reflect and then take different action and improve our lives. Yeah.
Boom! You made it here! Good on you. Make sure you click the subscribe button below and check out the playlist at the end. If you'd like to come along to our Sunday sessions where we host a live, free Q&A for our students and members, you're welcome. I'll see you there.